All right, boys, just going to be a short, sharp one today. We all know it by now. Bare Nuts by Nut Care hair removal cream's been voted number 1 by Men's Health magazine. Get around it. The team at Nut Care have got behind us. 10% discount for your first purchase. In the checkout, use code AnyGivenSunday, and that's 10% off your first discount. Get around it and get some Bare Nuts, boys.
Brown 45! Brown 45! Hot, 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 hot!
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number 1 podcast in 3 households, 1 studio, the ABC headquarters as we are today, the Gridiron Australia head office, down at Pro Kick, everywhere and anywhere we are number 1. And I did have a little up in Winnipeg, yeah, you're right, everywhere. Where were we this morning?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss,
yeah, down in Mississippi. Definitely number 1. We're growing, we're getting everywhere. And I had a cool little, I guess it's a quote. It was told to me about our show, and one of the boys told me it's where sports people go to be cool and where cool people go to be sporty. So I was like, yeah, I can get around that.
Who said that?
Just one of my mates. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but
No, that's good.
he was a bit ashamed when he told me. I was like, no, I like it. So joining us as always down in his basement when we're not sure where it is, at TC, at Tim Cardi, AGSAU. TC, how are you, mate?
I'm good, brother. And the fact that people are starting to make quotes about us, that's just got me really up and about now.
We're going in the right direction. Yeah,
that'll be like the one, like if someone writes a book and they put a quote from someone, like that'll just be on our little maybe podcast past ed, quote by an unknown friend.
Unknown, not willing to be named friend.
Yeah.
And you've come back 2 weeks in a row at Danny Webb AGSAU. How are you, mate?
Yeah, no Daniel leave book today. We're doubling up. Twice in the lab in one day, which has been great. Rip episode this morning. We'll leave that on the download until that actually comes out.
Yeah, we did have one put out this morning, though. Wade Lees, the UCLA and Maryland Terps punter. So get around that one. That one's a good listen. And we've been letting him sit here and just stew for a couple of minutes, listen to all of our sponsors and little quotes that we've got going. He's joining us from, I'm presuming ABC, oh, maybe not, maybe his own place, who knows. He's Australia's own Bill Mafia. Charlie Pickering, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, very well. I am at the ABC headquarters in my temporary office while Tom Gleeson steals my office. It's a long story. I don't want to go into it. I don't know.
Fucking Tom Gleeson is all we got to say.
We're always willing to throw fists.
Yeah.
Nah, thanks for coming back, mate. We appreciate it. We've got you on for a special reason, but we will get to that. We'll hold our cards momentarily.
It's not a Bare Nuts demonstration, is it? I'm not fully
we can only be so lucky.
Give the fans what they want.
Yeah.
If you're willing to jump down into that, that's onto you. I'm not going to force you to do anything. No, there is a few housekeeping things we've got to get to first. There's only one. Danson. You've got Danson, Charlie, don't you?
Sorry?
Dazen?
Yeah, I do.
Game Pass.
How do you say it? Is it Dazen?
Is it? Someone said DAZN. Like,
Ooh.
it's like they've taken
Oh,
all
like the end zone.
L out of it, and it's DAZN.
Oh,
That seems the most sensible to me. What I would say is it's not a good name.
we're going to stick with Game Pass. That seems to
Game
work.
Pass was easy to understand. Everyone knew what they were getting.
Yeah,
It made sense. Anyway.
So
DAZN feels like very white boy in an office in Australia being like, oi, this'll hit. DAZN.
and it didn't. It really didn't.
It does not hit.
What was as cringy as the Jets OC calling it the Golden Zone in Hard Knocks. Gold Zone. I was like, whoa.
That's been the gold zone for many years for Hackett. It was the gold zone over in the Packers, and it didn't quite make it to the gold zone at the Broncos, but hasn't really been the gold zone out of the Jets. But leave Hackett alone. I like Hackett. Now, I've got an email right here from Game Pass just letting us know that any customers that join up using our link, which is everywhere, currently gets a 7-day free trial to actually see if they want to use it. So make sure that 7 days covers as many games as you can. I don't know if you could get 2 weekends out of it if you're clever enough. Yeah, it'll be done by the Well, anyway, you get to make sure you use it on the weekend. We're not trying to. But yeah, you get a 7-day free trial to try it out. And then, if you do love it, like I do, you can go ahead with it. And I'm sure, Charlie, you've once it's fixed its little bugs, it's cherry ripe.
Yeah, it's the best way to avoid all other responsibilities in your life and simply watch football 24/7.
Well, my favorite part about the whole app is you can watch, if you don't have 24/7 and you've only got 40 minutes per the 16 games that are on, you can actually get the games in a lot shorter time. Kind of just cuts out all the dead space of the game. So instead of the 3.5 hour slog that you'd have to watch all Sunday long, you can just watch the games in 40. So it's a good way of getting it.
And if you're a Bills fan and you get Nance and Romo commentating way too often, that tends to take out a lot of the frustrating banter.
Yeah, or if you're a bit of a goose like me and sat up at work all night, you can have 3 or 4 games on at one time, which is very, very handy. But yeah, so make sure you sign up using our code.
That's the Elvis Presley way of watching football. Just
it
multiple
is,
TVs.
Or Red Zone. Red Zone's also amazing as well, which I don't think gets enough credit. So anyway, we've talked enough dribble about that. That's our housekeeping out of the way. We'll move on to the second highest rating segment that we have. I reckon it's purely because of the host that it's got.
Thank you for calling Dr. Danny's office.
Dr. Danny, what do you got for us, mate?
So there's a few big ones this week. Charlie, this is going to hurt, so block your ears. Justin Herbert, though, we'll start off with him. He fractured his finger on his non-throwing hand. He shouldn't miss any time because we got a week 5 bye. It was actually a pretty nasty fracture if you look at it, so it's pretty crazy. He's going to be back after 2 weeks. Kenny Pickett left the game with bone bruising on his knee. He could miss the week before the week 6 bye to give him like an extra 2 weeks off, but the Steelers haven't ruled him out yet. Devontae Adams injured his shoulder, managed to return in the game, but says it's still not feeling ideal. So there's a chance he won't be back for week 5. Mike Evans left with a hamstring injury. He's getting tests to see the severity of it, so that still hasn't come out yet of a time frame. T. Higgins, rib fracture. He could be out for multiple weeks. Not what you want to hear if you're a Bengals fan, because of the way that they've started. It's not looking too good. Matt Judon, he tore his bicep tendon and is out indefinitely. And then trade Devarius White, the Bills.
Good work.
The cornerback tore his Achilles after just returning from a torn ACL the previous season, I think it was. Yeah, so he's gone for the whole season, which is not looking good.
That was a grim moment. It was on an otherwise great day. That was really sad. He has battled for a long time to get back, and it's one of those things that when you're a fan of a team or a player or whatever, you see how hard it is for them to actually get back on the field, and that's brutal. He was just getting back into his pre-injury form too.
He was having a ripper game. Like, and we'll get into the Bills Dolphins 100% at some point during this. But he was actually having such a good game, and then you just see him chasing down, and then just stop on a dime. Like, oh, this isn't good.
I didn't see it. Was it the old shot in the ankle kind of looking back?
Yeah, he stopped, and I think he looked back, and then he was down, threw off the helmet, and he was in tears straight away.
He knew it.
Those ones where the players know straight away, it's hard, so much harder to watch. Like, they know it's a serious season ender. You're just so flattening.
It's it was grim stuff.
That sucks. We should, remiss of me to mention that this was brought to us by American Connection. 10% off from these guys, all the best gear getting around. That sucks for you guys, especially going into a few tough weeks. I'm pretty sure. Is that right? Yeah, I'm definitely right there. Anyway.
I mean, there's no easy weeks in the NFL. That's you're right. As Sean McDermott likes to say, it's hard to win in the NFL. But it's interesting though. Like, he was an All-Pro cornerback before he did his ACL. He's a freak show. But of all the positions in our secondary, we've actually got Kyrie Elam, first round draft pick from last year, it has been, battling to get a starter position. So we're actually, as far as talent goes, we're not bad. And Kyrie Elam had some big games last year, but has sort of been nudged out by Christian Benford this season. So of all of the positions we could lose at, it's not the worst, I would say.
Do you know how far away Von is?
Von starts training like today. So he is back doing pads, full team training today. There's some talk like he's physically ready to go to London and play Jacksonville, but the conventional wisdom around Orchard Park is, or One Bills Drive, is that he won't go to London and he might play the game after the Jacksonville game. But he's close, which, and once again, we'll get into the Dolphins game later, but the pass rush of the Bills is working really well. It's pretty terrifying for people that, we've done that without our best pass rusher. So, our defense on the whole, I'm not super concerned about. Trey White is a massive, massive loss, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, did he play? Let's get into the reason why we brought you on. Did he play in the game that you got to go over? And I want to know just what's the feeling like when your son jumps off and goes through his first Bills table?
Well, do you know what was disappointing? We made it to Buffalo for the it was the week 2 game against the Raiders. It was the home opener, and the whole experience was incredible. And a big thanks to Charlotte and the NFL AUNZ now, but who helped get some tickets for me. Great tickets, sort of on the 5-yard line. It was amazing. But I really struggled to find a table to jump through. That was what was really confusing. And I went to the Mafia House. I went to Hammer's Lot. I really traveled far and wide. And it wasn't until after the game that we're actually in a car heading back to our hotel that's when the table breaking seemed to break out. And we saw it pass our window. And I thought I've really cost my 9-year-old some rites of passage to through a table. But the whole experience was pretty amazing. And it was my first NFL game. And, the Bills Mafia tailgate pretty hard. It has to be said. But for anyone that hasn't been to an NFL game, it's like going to a music festival, like Woodstock, Glastonbury-sized music festival, but everyone only likes one band, right? Everyone likes the same band, and it's insane. It's quite overwhelming. And I've been to AFL Grand Finals many, many times, and this was just different. Like the focus and the parochial nature of it. I've sat at Football Park in Adelaide to watch the Bombers play, and I didn't feel as outnumbered as the Raiders would have felt at Orchard Park. It was incredible.
Yeah, there's that makes me think there's a bit of the Packers at the moment. It helps when you're winning, obviously, about the people showing up. The Packers are struggling with a few numbers at the moment, which sucks, but helps. Do you think the tables didn't come out because you didn't have the best first or week 1? Like, do you think they would have been out a bit more if you were up and about after beating the Jets?
Yeah, I think they might have. There was a lot of trepidation going into that week 2 because week 1 was such a disaster. I'm not sure if I can swear. Can I swear?
You can do whatever the fuck you want.
It was a fucking clusterfuck. It was like every possible bad Bills thing that could happen happened. And so everyone was pretty tense about it going into it. So I do think it wasn't so much celebratory as everyone shitting themselves before the game.
Yeah.
But pretty quickly against the Raiders, everyone settled down and had a very good afternoon. But yeah,
well, that's the thing. After that week 1, you definitely couldn't be going into week 3 going 0-2. Like the Bills Mafia would not have been happy.
Oh no, there would. Yeah. A lot of people would have been on suicide watch, I'd have to say, after that in Buffalo. But the vibe in the town, like the whole town, is like the friendliest place on the planet. One of the friendliest places I've ever been. The city, like Buffalo, is the city of good neighbors, is their official slogan, and people genuinely were insanely helpful. And I took Tim Tams and kangaroo jerky and traded for people's barbecue around the around all the tailgating, and I got
How was the
beer
reception
and
of that?
hot dogs and ribs, and it was amazing. I've never eaten roux jerky myself, but it was at the airport when I was flying out, and I thought, this will fool some people.
Was it a Tim Tam? Were you getting packets of Tim Tams, or just I'll give you one for a shag?
Family packs of Tim Tams. Come on, it's America. Like, that's like per person over there.
Yeah, big, I'll go home.
Why'd you give us a small for? This is bullshit.
What was the build up of the week like? Were you in Buffalo for like the lead up?
No, it's funny. Like, bit of an insight. It was Rosh Hashanah for any Jewish listeners out there. So I spent Rosh Hashanah with some family.
Right. Yep.
Got up, sort of from suburban New York actually, and drove to JFK Airport at like 5 a.m. and flew there on the day. Managed to check into the hotel and go straight to the ground. So it all happened pretty quickly. Didn't stay there so much for the build up, but the scale of it is pretty wild. The tailgating and like in the car parks and just the level of infrastructure for a car park at a sporting stadium is wild. Like it really does blow your mind. And you can tell that just how important, because it was week one back, you can tell just how important it is to that city and that fan base to have football back in town. Because over the summer, I don't think much happens in Buffalo. I don't think there's much else going on.
Well, they don't have a baseball team, do they? Or
they have a baseball team or a basketball team. And Syracuse College is just down the road, I suppose. But they've got ice hockey. The Sabres are in the NHL. Perpetual underdog, and the Bills. So winter sport is very important.
Yeah. Although they are the only New York-based team, so they've probably got the Knicks and stuff.
They would absolutely claim the Knicks.
Yeah.
Probably the Nets while they're there, and
Is that it for you? Like, have you caught the bug? Like, do you have to go back now? Like, is it going to be every year or every couple of years you're planning?
Yeah, I do. Like, it's one of those things that once you've done it, and that's the other thing. It's about connecting with a tribe, if you know what I mean. And I've made friends with heaps of Bills Mafia online, like over Twitter and Instagram and stuff. But to be there in person, it's funny. Just like, even I was staying in New York City, and the week before for the Jets game, walking around on the day wearing a Bills cap and a Bills t-shirt, and anyone that goes for the Bills would say "Go Bills" to you on the street, and like it's almost like this, like it's a pretty obvious code word, but it's like you're all part of this tribe and you connect, and it's actually quite a beautiful, exciting thing, and that, safe to say, doesn't happen on the streets of Melbourne. So,
you don't get to go Bombers every time you're walking down the street?
Not really. Most of the time,
it's not quite the same.
We just hug each other and cry and say it'll be okay next year. That's what you do as a Bombers fan. But yeah, so there is something about the connection with the other fans and being there for it, and just being embraced by a bunch of strangers. And they were so excited to have Australians there cheering for the Bills. Like they realised that that's a pretty weird and special thing. So that is, it's a great experience. That said, as a fan of football, it's funny. I think to know what's going on in the game, watching it on TV is the only way to really do it. Like we watched, we watched it in person, but then we went back to the hotel and rewatched the game to really know all the details of exactly what had gone down. But that's just a lot to do with how well broadcast NFL is.
Yeah, I was going to say,
unlike any other sport on TV, it's unbelievable.
You gave them shit before, but Romo and Nance, they really do bring a lot to it. Like,
and this is just the system. Look, this isn't a big deal, right? But if you asked me to film a game of sport and have the line of scrimmage and the line for downs, how do you do it? Do you know what I mean? Like, just having the two lines there so you know exactly if someone, has made a first down or not is a genuinely, it's cool technology. And I know that's been around since the 80s, but it's like, even that, the way they film, you look at the AFL and the fact that they can't call a goal that's a goal because the cameras are too crap. And you have a look at just how well shot every moment is in the NFL, because the cameras are part of the officiating of the sport. So they have to be right.
Yeah.
And the fact that they pull all of that off, the broadcasting of NFL is pretty unsurpassed.
Yeah. Not to bring it back to my own experience, but I'm going to when I went to the Packers game, the day after I did the tour of Lambeau, and I remember, just like you were saying, like we were standing there like, oh, who's come from where? Like, yeah, I've come from Kansas. Oh, you've come from Kansas, blah, blah. And I was, yeah, from Australia. And everyone just turned around like, holy fuck, you've come from Australia? Like, it was a huge deal.
And there is nothing quite like the disbelief of an American when you tell them how long it took you to fly there. Like, because they'll fly from Kansas and they think that's a long flight. And you go, we flew for 24 straight hours, and they're like, they cannot get their head around it. Like, they just can't understand that anyone would travel that far, Yeah,
beautiful. And like Cart's asked, you've got the bug. Have you already booked another ticket, or is it?
Haven't booked another ticket, but the good thing is having family in New York. It's a great excuse.
It's a great reason to get back.
Every football trip can be dressed up as visiting family for some kind of big event.
Just so happens. Nah, beautiful.
But yeah, it was like, on the whole, absolute sporting bucket list thing to do. It was so enjoyable.
Sounds like we've got to get Carts to the Raiders and Danny up to Philly Financial Stadium or some shit like that, whatever it's called. Whatever the stadium's bloody called. But it sounds like it was an incredible trip, mate. And, we are all quite jealous of you, to be honest.
And all I'd say to hardcore fans, like, just do it. Like, find a way. Like, it is worth building a holiday around it and doing it because it's such a cool experience. And, you do feel, even when you have Game Pass and everything, you feel a long way away from it.
Yeah.
And to go and be close to it and be around fans that care the way that you do is a very cool experience.
All right. One thing, just to wrap it up, what was your favourite part of that little trip?
Favourite part of that little trip? I met Billy Buffalo. That would, the mascot.
The mascot.
He was like riding a cart through the car park, and I met Billy Buffalo. So that was a fair highlight. But also, it's funny to see. Oh, the one thing is, okay, just two observations. Number one is just how big they are, right? And the players are. And I've been to the AFL, and I always thought, oh yeah, they're big boys. Like, I was physically intimidated by the size of Jimmy Garoppolo, and now I've never been intimidated by Jimmy Garoppolo before. It was like, wow, he's a big guy, and he's not the biggest guy on the field. Like, the kicker for the Raiders looked like a giant to me. So there was it looked not real. They were that big. It was full on. And the cool thing was, I was quite close to where Stephon Diggs was like firing up the crowd before the game. It was like they sort of came out, did their warm-ups, and then before they did the big sort of, introduction and run out with the fireworks and everything. And seeing just the intensity on the face of Stephon Diggs, I've never seen anything like it. And just he's obviously built differently as far as competitiveness and focus and how much emotion he has on the line. So that, to me, from a football point of view, is just seeing the look in his eyes from a few meters away when he was charging himself up before a game. It's a pretty special thing.
Nah, that's awesome. I don't know if the missus can hear me, but I'll be booking tickets to Lambeau very soon. So, you've got me excited, mate, and we can sit here and talk.
She's going to find out about it at some point. You realise that,
I don't know how much
you're buying tickets to fly to another country.
When I get on the plane, she'll probably know, I reckon. But
yeah,
I could talk to you for hours about it, mate. But I don't think everyone else wants to listen to us Nuffies talk dribble. So we'll move on. We do have our game reviews, and I have picked to do the Bills Dolphins because you've come on. But we'll leave that till last because I feel like we're going to be talking about that one for a little bit too. So, boys, what games have you?
Great sizzle, keeping people listening to the end there. That's right. Yes. You're dangling. The finale, the big finale is coming up.
Yeah. Danny,
I jumped on and I was going to do the Chiefs-Jets because mainly how much we spoke about Zach Wilson and how he hasn't really been performing up to what everyone was kind of expecting to after Rodgers went down. Swift, obviously back in the building, for Kelsey, huge. But Rodgers was in the building, and I think that made such a massive difference the way Zach Wilson played. He probably played the best game potentially of his career. He threw for 2 touchdowns. It was all gone well until he dropped the snap, resulting in Chiefs recovering the ball on the Jets 47 with 10 minutes to go, kind of potentially costing them the game. There was plenty of mistakes, though, by Mahomes. Definitely wasn't the Chiefs' best games. He was intercepted twice and potentially a third time with a controversial holding call that was called a Sauce Gardner, which actually brought it back in the Chiefs' way. But I don't know if you boys saw that play. There was holding left, right, and center. The whole thing.
Yeah.
There could have been multiple flags flying, and that penalty could have been declined, or where there's 2 penalties and then they get thrown away. That definitely could have happened. So massive credit to the Jets defense because they really kept him in the game. Mahomes finished with a very impressive 25-yard run on a 3rd and 23 and another 9-yard run on a 3rd down to seal the victory right at the very end. Mahomes breaking records as he does, threw for his 200th NFL touchdown pass. He was 18 of 30, which is quite small realistically for him, only for 203 yards. Wilson did go for 28 of 39, 245 yards, and those 2 touchdowns that I was speaking about earlier. One of them, important for us at the Any Given Sunday crew, threw it to our main man, Alan Lazard, which was huge, a little 10-yard catch. So overall, it was a more impressive game for the Jets, especially Wilson. He's kind of found himself. I don't know if Rodgers being there filled him with that confidence for him to be able to play that he went kind of the way he was in preseason, where he actually looked like he could lead this team. So it was very impressive for the Jets. Robert Saleh was disgusted in that last drive and really thought they could have had the game there, or at least let it be tight and go to overtime and see if they can get the job done. So underwhelming performance from the Chiefs, but still managed to get it done because they're the Chiefs. But really, really good showing for Zach Wilson, I reckon.
Yeah, I wonder how much Robert Saleh backing Wilson in during the week. During the week he really, and his words weren't necessarily the most inspiring. He didn't say this guy's the future of Jets football, but he said that he is the best option we have to win right now, which is
how inspiring is that? You're the best of what we got.
Yeah, but maybe that helped him, feel that he had a spot there. I mean, it's been an emotionally bruising experience for Zach Wilson being at the Jets so far.
We kind of talked about it a bit. It seems like a lot of it is mentally for him, between the ears, and to have Saleh come out and still back him, that's got to be huge for his confidence. And then Rodgers as well came out and backed him in and said, everyone's got to get behind Zach and, stop the negative talk, all that sort of stuff from the outside. And even stuff coming from internally, stop the leaks and all that sort of shit coming out. So, huge for Zach just to sort of turn that corner a little bit, it seems.
And it's silenced a lot of the Zach Wilson haters, the Jets fan base, how toxic they can be. It seems to be my whole entire X feed is Jets fans. Maybe have an attack at me. And that's sort of
very vocal. But he also he came out and owned it too on that fumble, didn't he?
He blamed himself,
which is a big turning point from how he sort of behaved a bit last year, when the defense was holding up their end and they asked, "Do you feel responsible?" Or no, what did he say? Do you feel something about the defense? He's like, nah, it's all good.
No, we're right.
No, offense. Yeah, we're fine.
I feel like it was thanks to Mahomes taking a knee right at the very end instead of crossing for a touchdown. But I did say that they would keep it close and it'd be under 9, so I'm pretty happy about that fact. But is anyone else sick of the fact, I watched probably 2/3 of that game. Every 5 minutes, I get why they do it, but they just cross over, what's Donna Kelsey and Taylor Swift doing? No one gives a fuck. Let's watch the fucking football, would we? It wasn't that bad of a game.
It's because there's more 12 to 17-year-old females tuned in than ever before. They have to cross to it.
Isn't there also some there was some stats during the week that the resale ticket price for the Jets went up by 50% when people found out that Taylor Swift was going to be there. So it's actually affected ticket price. Kelsey's jersey is now the highest selling jersey in the past 2 weeks, all because of Taylor Swift.
He's busy.
The Taylor Swift effect on football is real. It doesn't necessarily improve the viewing experience at all, Tom, but it's a genuine thing. And as as a supporter of an AFC rival, I am more than happy for the distraction. You know, like I want as much Taylor Swift media attention going on as possible. I want all of that so that we can just fly under the radar and keep a lid on it.
Well, and
I reckon it's really flying under the radar at the moment. So obviously your week one, not too great, but since then, Bills are looking dominant.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, they're still underdogs. They're still getting over how mistreated they were in the media at the start of the year. Hey, just on the Jets though, I think the Zach Wilson story I think is a big story coming out of that game, but also the Jets defense have to be better, don't they? Like Mahomes was able to chew the clock for 7.5 minutes or something on that final drive, and like you say, basically take a slide and to not score, but just to chew the clock and make sure they won. For all of the Rodgers hype at the start of the season, everyone was talking about what a mean defense they've got and how good Salah is as a defensive coach. Surely that was just an example that they've got a long way to go if you can't get a stop there.
Well,
they had 3.
Yeah,
they had 2 or 3 interceptions, but I reckon they were more on Mahomes than the defense putting the pressure on him to take them away.
But just particularly that drive, they had him third and long twice, and it was penalties that just let them get that first down and keep the drive going. And then ultimately that one on Gardner, which was a bit ticky touch that, probably don't want to see that paid. But
it was the most animated I've seen Salah after that.
Yeah, that's right.
He was
on with it at the end as well. Yeah.
And good because he's completely bald. You could actually see the veins very clearly in his head.
But yeah, I completely agree with you, Charlie. On the Jets defense, like I said to you, with Mahomes rushing for 25 yards on that final drive, that is not something the Jets should be allowing him to do. No way.
Yeah,
Their defense is way better than that.
You just can't leave it open like that for him. Did they not watch the Super Bowl? Did they not watch the last drive of the Super Bowl? Were they not watching?
Apparently not.
No.
I don't know what to say. Before we get on to you, Cart, so a question for Charlie. How devastated will you be and the world be that AFC title time or AFC championship time, we find out that Swifty and Kelsey have broken up and it really just causes mayhem in their household?
Well, yeah, I mean, what I'd really hope for is I think if they can break up around wildcard would be my preference. If she can quickly cut a single about him, that would be, and just get it out right in time for the AFC Championship game, which I'm going to just presume that the Bills are going to be playing in. That would be a big help. That would be.
Well, if that happens around wildcard, they might not make the AFC Championship.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. Although it is interesting to me, I don't really feel like Kelsey was that present during the game.
Nah.
Like when they needed. When they were in need and they were really had to do something, Mahomes was looking for Kelsey, but he really didn't have an impact.
Yeah. So he had 6 catches for 60 yards, but compared to the normal Kelsey impact that he has, it wasn't really his game. It was more Isaiah Pacheco who rushed for 115 yards, a touchdown on 20 carries. That was really what got him the victory at the end of the day. It wasn't the Kelsey effect.
Are we still worried about the knee? Maybe.
I don't think so.
You're a knee bruzzy, Carts. You could probably tell us better than ever.
He didn't have it half as bad as what I did, but
I don't know.
He's out there. He's 100% healthy, I reckon.
If I was playing a game and I knew that my girlfriend was up talking to my mum, I'd be pretty distracted as well.
How is Donna Kelsey? She's been
saying?
jet-setting everywhere. How good's that? But all right, we've talked about this way too long. Carts, what game did you have?
I had, today's game. So Monday Night Football, Tuesday morning for us here over in Oz. The Seahawks got it done against the Giants 24-3 at MetLife Stadium there. It was a bit of a stinker early. Pretty flag heavy, like special teams were just making mistakes and I don't know. It wasn't looking like it was going to be a good game. And then Gino got hurt in the second quarter, I think it was. Looked like a knee or an ankle issue. They took him off the tent for scans and x-rays, but he came back into the game. Drew Lock had a bit of a run for a bit. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel like a super pretty game. Both teams pretty ineffective with the passing. Like Gino and Lock combined only went for a total of 160 yards. Daniel Jones and Paris Campbell didn't really do anything. But Daniel Jones, what did he have? 200 yards, but the story for mine was the Seattle defense. They had 11 sacks for the day, so they were getting to Jones, and they were having a huge impact on the game. Witherspoon had an intercept, pick six for 97-yard touchdown. That was pretty impressive, and just shimmied past Jones like he wasn't even there. So always feel bad for the quarterback or the kicker or whoever's like just getting this absolute weapon running at him, and they just step him so easy. But felt for Jones a little bit there. But yeah, just not super productive in the air. Like the game wasn't pretty, and both defenses are ranked, I think, 30th and 32nd for points against. So both pretty leaky ships, as we know the story of the Giants so far this year. But yeah, to only score that one field goal in the second quarter, and then that was it points-wise for the Giants. Pretty disappointing. They moved to 1-3. The Seahawks, however, 3-1, traveling all right, ticking along. 2-0 away as well. So traveling pretty well, Gino and the boys at the moment.
I think the biggest worry for the Giants now, I think they're being outscored at home. I think it's 61-3 or something, or 64-3. So they're being outscored 61 points at home.
They're just leaking, man. Like it's a glaring issue. And like, I think they only had 2 sacks for the day, so they were only able to get to Gino twice for the day. And Kenneth Walker had a pretty decent game, rushing for 80 yards and a touchdown, coming off his, was it Offensive Rookie of the Year last year for Walker, I think?
Nah, not last year. It was the Jets played both of them last year.
Oh, they did too. Maybe he was nominated. But yeah, the rushing game for the Giants is pretty non-existent. Daniel Jones leading the way with 66 himself. So just not getting productive on the ground or really in the air for that matter as well. So yeah, it wasn't the prettiest game to watch, but Seahawks fans will be pretty excited. Pete Carroll, pretty animated as always on the sidelines, the old boy. Like he's actually fun to watch. Like he just loves it. And like you can tell he loves his boys, loves his team. He's good fun to watch.
Yeah, I reckon Brian Daboll's got to be stressing out that he can't get that offense.
Losing his hair, right?
He's such a good offensive mind, but to have 3 points in this game, 0 against the Cowboys.
And obviously it hurts not having Saquon out there. Like that's a huge part of their offense. But yeah, even still, just to not be able to get points on the board.
Do you have the stats cards?
Sorry, mate.
Do you have the stats in front of you?
What are you searching for?
How did Darren Waller go?
Waller, he was targeted 3 times for 3 receptions for only 21 yards.
Yeah, so he's such an offensive weapon, and you're not using
him. Because they've been going to him a bit, like they have been targeting him a lot, but yeah, just not productive. And like I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I said they just sort of, whoever they were playing, they just sort of double teamed him or just had really good coverage on him and shut him out. And it's like it just took away their sort of number one option there. Who was that?
You take him away. That's the reason Danny Dimes rushed for 65 yards. You know,
yeah,
because that wasn't never planned. It was never planned QB rush.
No, they were just sort of scramble. I think it was Arizona, maybe not, but whoever it was, they just took Waller right out of it, and it just takes away Danny Dimes' options, and he's in trouble then.
I think realistically, we both called it cards. Like they were favourites, the Giants, and we were both very stunned that they were.
How could you have them as favourites based on their form?
Oh, we couldn't believe it. We took it. Here's the money.
Load up on the Seahawks if you can.
Yeah. And the Seahawks, I think they're going to cause a lot of trouble. I think they're going to go deep in the NFC this year.
Yeah, well, Metcalf and Tyler Lockett being really productive. Walker on the ground. Smith and Jigbury's starting to get a few more targets. He's finding his hands and stuff. Gino's looking pretty reliable. Even Locke, when he came on, he looked pretty handy. Like, he had a few things going on. A couple of passes a little bit behind and stuff like that. But good to know that he did. Yeah, he took his first drive for the Hawks, took him down for a touchdown. So, it's pretty impressive. So, yeah, good signs. And they're so young as a result, like the commentators were talking today, as a result of that massive deal with the Broncos and Wilson. They're so young and stacked with all their young guys coming through. Could be some good times ahead.
That still remains the worst deal in football. Ever. Unbelievable. It's like when Alan Bond bought Channel 9 from Kerry Packer for $1 billion and sold it back to him for $1. It's like, it's just the worst. Those poor Broncos. Oh.
Yeah, so they're still suffering, I think. But we'll move on to your Bills. I've got the Bills-Dolphins game. So Josh Allen, he threw for 4 touchdown passes, which was more. He threw for 4 and ran for 1, which was more touchdowns than incompletions for the game, which he only had 4. And they brought Miami's unbeaten streak to an emphatic end, beating them 48-20. Did you watch the game, Charlie?
Yep, I watched it. I was up, and it was a beautiful time to be alive. It was great, but it was funny. I was so stressed about that game going into it. I didn't think for a second that Miami was going to score 70 on us like they did on the Broncos the week before. But everything you've seen from their offense suggested that McDaniels and Tua and Tyreek Hill were cooking up something that was proving too hard for defenses to play. The way their pre-snap motion was just, and it's Tyreek Hill's speed and it's Tua's processing and accuracy that makes it all work. And going into it, just genuinely concerned as to whether or not we could shut it down. And it was a chess match between McDermott and McDaniel. Yeah, and you'd have to say that what McDermott was able to get the defense doing was nearly perfect for the day. They had a few easy drives to start off, but once the Bills readjusted, they honestly completely disrupted whatever the Dolphins wanted to do. And when you've got Josh Allen playing the way he can, it's I don't know if it's quite as good as the playoff game against the Patriots where literally every possible yard he took, but it was close. He had a perfect passer rating for the game.
Yeah, 158.3, which is huge.
And that allows the defense to be aggressive and to go hard and to take some risks as well. And it's that complementary football. They actually did it, and you looked at, you had a look. The Dolphins were resting Tua and they were resting Waddle with quite a bit of time to go because they'd given up at around the 3-quarter mark as well.
Yeah. So it was, like you said, it was pretty offensive heavy. Diggs ended up with 6 receptions for 120 and 3 touchdowns himself. So that's anyone who
pretty efficient receiving there.
Yeah, anyone who had him on fantasy would be absolutely licking their chops. Oh, there you go. So like I said, Allen only 21 of 25, which I think is more impressive for 320 yards, and it's his 10th game of 4 passing touchdowns or more. Miami still did pretty well, like you said, a few early cheap ones. They still moved for 393 yards of total offense, but I'm pretty sure that the majority of it was the young running back, Arcane. Yeah, he had a fair bit on the ground, so he did pretty well for them. But the Bills, your defense
2 weeks ago, so I'm very happy about his performance.
Yeah, smart. You guys did manage to sack 2 or 4 times as well, which is obviously going to make any team, a little bit on the back foot. Your obviously only major setback was Trey White being carted off in the 3rd. Both teams now 3-1. You guys never trailed in the game and finished with 414 yards of offense yourself. Scoring, I think this is the most impressive, 8 of your first 9 possessions.
Yes. It was a good day to be a Bill. I think that's true. But it's also useful to think of just how hard everyone went on Josh Allen after that first game and how hard he took it. And it was it was the worst of Josh Allen just playing that schoolyard football and just giving the ball up too often. It's so good to see that in the last 3 weeks, he's playing the way he should, but he's not being conservative. He's still being you have a look, what's the average depth of target? This is off the top of my head, but
12.5.
What is it?
There was, in that game, 12.5 from him,
12.5 for an average depth of target.
Yeah.
And when you do that with the accuracy that he's got there, that's a recipe for success, and that's close to unstoppable. And the one thing about the defense, the sacks were good, but also for the first game this year, I reckon you saw Tua have to go to his 2nd and 3rd reads, and he genuinely struggles when he has to go to other reads. And the way that the defense was moving between man and zone just really had him guessing, and it was good to watch. And I think that is now the blueprint, going forward for playing the Dolphins. They'll probably bounce back this week, but it's sort of everyone was talking about the Dolphins like top Super Bowl contender the week before, and it's amazing how quickly that goes away.
People had given him the title already.
Yeah,
That was the best. That was the best part about. Like, to me, it was one of the most exciting games all weekend to watch. And the best part was, like, exactly what you said. The Bills' defense did adjust because the first few drives from the Dolphins, they were scoring on every single drive as well. So I was like, this is going to be an absolute score fest. But then the Bills came out, and like you said, as soon as Tua had to go to that second and third read, they were absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, and it's funny that I'd have to say also once again, the defense of Miami is a real concern for them as well. Was that Armstead went out early in the game, and then the whole thing fell apart. Like they really weren't effective at stopping the Bills after that point. So I think there is still some big question marks over the way that the whole team is working in Miami. I think McDaniels is a freak show of a coach. And I think he's got the best sense of humor of anyone that does a press conference in the NFL. But I think, as a team that, because they're a divisional rival, you get to know them pretty well. I still think they've got some big things to fix if they're going to be in contention later in the year.
Well, on that being a divisional rival, what about your record against them up there? I think it's 8 years now they haven't won.
Isn't it 10 of 11? Or like it's since Josh Allen in Josh Allen's career, 10 of 11.
I heard, which is pretty incredible.
And the one loss was round 3 last year, round 2 or round 3 last year, and it was like a
was it 48-45 or something like that?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
In like insane heat, and that was a grim 3 a.m. start last year, but this was much better.
We're 4 a.m. now. We're moving forward. It's great.
Daylight savings, thanks.
I think the Dolphins, it's just whether they've been punched in the face, whether they can bounce back now. Like you said, they're still a quality side, so you guys bounce back after your week 1 punching in the face. We'll see if they do. Before we do move on, do you think...
Can I just say something quickly about the Dolphins? Brutal. But I just want to say, I hope they stop printing sassy T-shirts before they come to Buffalo from now on. Remember last year? But last year they were training in T-shirts that all said, "I wish it was colder," and then they lost as soon as it started snowing. And then coming out this time the emoji T-shirts. And that was
what's with the emoji T-shirts?
The favourites. And then for Josh Allen, Josh never does that stuff, but it obviously got to him. For him to do that after he walked in for a touchdown, I think if I were them, I would print fewer T-shirts, get my D-line working, and take Tua to get to his second and third read.
Yeah. I feel like McDermott's before the game or in the weeks going, boys, fucking have a look what they're doing. The old Bill Belichick, point it out, show them, get them a bit of fire in the belly.
This week, lads.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, before we do move on, do you think, you said Josh took it upon himself, especially after that week 1 loss. Do you think Rodgers plays that game and you lose? Say you lose in the same fashion, doesn't really matter how you lose, but Rodgers is playing. Do you think he's less aggressive at himself or less, unhappy? That the fact that it was the way you went down and no Rodgers and...
I've done a lot of soul searching after that game, and I've got some deep psychological theories myself. And what I think is, if Rodgers doesn't go down, Josh plays a more mature game because he knows he's up against Aaron Rodgers. And I think psychologically, once Rodgers was down and he was against Zach Wilson, I think he mentally gave himself position to be the hero, and he goes, all right, we're going to destroy the Jets now. So I think I genuinely think the outcome might have been different if, I still think obviously a tougher team to beat with Rodgers. But I think you're right. If they'd lost even in those circumstances to Rodgers, I don't think he would have had the self-loathing needed to really turn it around the way he did. But I think
maybe the loss you needed.
There is the recipe, like the recipe. Dorsey's play calling has been great on offense. It was easily the best game he's called. And Josh is still making big throws, but he's checking down and voluntarily taking sacks rather than giving the ball up or taking a risk. And, if he can just do that for the rest of the game, he's physically, I think, more talented than anyone else in the NFL with what he's physically capable of. Mahomes has a mental game that's unbelievable, the decision making that he has and the maturity and the way he evolves through a season. But if Josh can keep it together and play like that, he'll be pretty unstoppable for most of the season, I think.
So it sounds like it's, before we move on, it's the 2000 Bulldogs beating the Bombers in the last game, loss that you needed to have.
That's right. Gave him the fire in the belly. No singing the club song until you win the grand final, guys. That's it. That's got to be the rule.
All right. That was long. That was the longest one we've ever done. We'll get on to the news. Just quickly, brought to us by C2C Rare Threads, one of our better sponsors. These guys have incredible stuff. I'm going to go get some Jordans from these guys this week, I reckon. 10% off with the code Any Given Sunday. Check them out. They are incredible. We'll just quickly go across the news. I'll say both the stories and just get some opinions on both of them from all of you guys. First one, running back Jonathan Taylor looks to be on track. Whether he actually does come back and play, train this week, but he is eligible to play this week after coming off the reserve or the pup list. Hasn't played or trained since the 17th of December. So that'll be interesting. I want to get your thoughts on that. And the other story is the Chase Claypool being a healthy scratch out of the Bears in what is turmoil going on at the Bears. So what are your thoughts on both of those ones, boys?
Who's going to go?
Whoever jumps in.
Okay. Jonathan Taylor, you said he hasn't trained since December. He just hasn't trained with the group. He's been rehabbing at the facility with the team rehab crew or whatever you want to call them, staff. So he's been around. His main issue has been with the front office. Obviously, we know he couldn't get the deal done. His deal or his contract ends at the end of this year. So his main issue is with front office, Jim Irsay in particular getting involved. But, mate, if JT's fit and firing, they get the pads on him and he's looking good, absolutely play him. Why not? Colts have been looking not too bad themselves. They put a weapon like him in, get that running game going, get him going with AR. Whew. Watch out.
Steichen came out and said that he's super excited to be back with his teammates and looked forward to having him on the field. Like, they only went down to one score to the Rams. I think it was 29-23. You throw him in there with AR, it's another weapon that they can have and they can definitely use and they definitely need because they've been close. The Colts have been close in a lot of games and, performing better than what most people actually expect them to do. You throw Jonathan Taylor in there, it's a whole nother ballpark.
Yeah.
And I don't think his teammates aren't going to have issue with him wanting, to get paid, that sort of stuff. Like they'd be happy to have him. I don't think there'd be any locker room issue, him coming back, anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think there's many players that think running backs are already paid well enough.
Yeah.
It's the cruelest position in the way that it's paid. And I think also he's playing to be a free agent at the end of the season and get the biggest contract he can possibly get. He's going to play lights out. He's playing for the money, and everyone has a great season in their contract year.
Oh yeah,
everyone.
They're talking as well. He could be back as early as this Sunday matchup against the Titans. So it's something to watch for as this week unfolds.
Keep your eyes on it. And just a quick note: Chase Claypool, bit selfish, or what's going on there?
That one seems like it's the other way. He seems like he's been a little bit toxic himself. He came out and pretty much said, "I'm not being used the way that I should be," or he's obviously he's not getting the targets that he wants, that sort of thing. So he seems like he's been a little bit cancerous in the locker room. They've just said, "Hey, mate, take a week off.
Yeah.
Don't come Sunday." So yeah, they're bit more of an issue with him there. They get that right because we know he's a jet, we know he's a gun. They want him out there, and Fields came out and said, "Look, I want him out there because he's like what did he call him? I can't remember the words that he used, but again, said he's a gun. I want him out there. I want my best pieces out there." So Fields definitely wants him out there. They need him out there. We all know the struggles the Bears are going through. So he just needs to pull his head in, I guess. And yeah,
it sounds like there's been a bit of lack of production as well in the practice sense of things as well, and off the field, just with his commitment to everything that the Bears are doing. Because, like you said, he is a bit bitter. He's definitely emotional about how much he's getting out of it. So he's putting less in, which I think.
Yeah, is that what the coach said about we review everything at the end of each week? We review practice, we review meetings, all that. So yeah, obviously they're talking about his input and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, he's just not quite there yet.
if I was Matt Eberflus, I would not be suggesting that everything should be reviewed because I would look at the coaching at Chicago pretty quickly.
Yeah. Making a run for his back there.
Is he on the hottest hot seat of all of the coaches in the NFL? Like he
Yep,
has to,
100%.
because when he got the job, people thought he should go. Like, no one was like, oh, good, Matt Eberflus. Like, no one, not a single person. Even his mum, Mrs. Eberflus, was surprised. Like, so, like, I just, Claypool is an issue, and obviously he's not happy, but no one's happy at the Bears at the moment. And I would be very surprised if, Eberflus survives beyond the bye for the Bears.
Yeah.
He joins that massive list of $800 million in sacked coaches and
sacked coaches and front office. Yeah. Beautiful. Nice, guys. Nice. Let's get straight into the number one segment. Damn it, it didn't play straight away. Oh, they're killing me. I did this last week. Hang on, let's try this one.
Right.
Nah,
You
fuck it.
just got to sing it.
Yeah, we're going for questions without notice, boys. And I did have two, but
without media.
Yeah, the number one. The number one. Damn it. My question to you boys is on much better than last week's questions, I promise. It's regarding Christian McCaffrey. Is he currently the MVP?
Yeah.
Shall we let our guest go first?
Yeah, I think he is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to push in, but
no, you didn't.
Yeah, he absolutely is. What has he scored at? He just broke the touchdown record, Rice's touchdown record.
14 in a row.
Consecutive games, is it?
And he is just the level that he produces at, and the fact that whole offense looks completely different with him there, and it makes them so dangerous. And he's so consistent. Can you remember a game that he hasn't produced?
Nah.
Remember a game where he hasn't had an impact? I can't. Not even, at Carolina. Even when he was injured at Carolina, he would have an impact.
He was still their best player.
Yeah, still their best player.
Poor Carolina.
I'm saying yes as well. He gets it done in the air, on the ground. He scores, he produces points. Mate, he's just an absolute beast. And the consistency with which he does it, he's an anomaly. He's just an out-and-out star.
And I think it makes, Brock Purdy as well look better as well. Having a weapon like that he can use either on the ground or in the air is helping the 49ers so much. He's a major reason why they're undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Purdy to be able to check it down to McCaffrey, it turns a safe dink and dunk sort of play into a threatening move. It makes, like you say, it makes Purdy look so much more potent.
We're going to do a live. Just going to have a check and see what his odds are for MVP, because I reckon they were still. I had a look the other day, and they were still ridiculously high.
Well, while you're talking betting, I saw a good little stat that if you rolled McCaffrey anytime touchdown scorer each week into it for the 14 consecutive weeks that he's done it, there would have been a nice little production. I think it was something silly, maybe 700,000. I don't want to say that, but it was looking nice. That if you just rolled your winnings in each week, you would have turned over a nice little bit of profit there.
So Allen is currently leading at $4.50.
Oh.
Christian McCaffrey, $23.
Whoa, that's got to be worth it.
Yeah,
a little bit of value there, that's for sure.
We're live on air, going to put a cheeky couple of dollars. So we're at a quarter of the way through the season to be.
Always gamble responsibly too.
Isn't it about time there was an Any Given Sunday official gambling partner? Is it
yes, there is. Yes. Do you know
anyone?
It's in the back pocket.
Do you know anyone, Charlie?
I've been too vocally against the gambling lobby to be able to help you there. I almost got sued by Tom Waterhouse once. So
there you go.
So I'm not your guy. I am not your guy on this. But yeah, but that would be good. If your questions without notice was sponsored by a gambling partner and just was always just odds related, just secretly odds related. Hey, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Just happened to be $23. What are the odds?
Yeah.
Sounds like you've got an idea, and I don't know why we haven't tried to jump on it yet. That's weird.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some game previews, and we're going to go in order. So it's the Jags that are first because it's the biggest game of the week to finish, and I want to finish with that one, Carts. So we're going to go – I've got to find – no, not that one. Not that one. There it is. How's this one for you, boys?
Standing by it.
Beautiful.
Don't mind that. Very blue, but very blue.
I think it's actually a Buffalo Bill one.
Yeah, I can. The Buffalo Bill logo at the top kind of gives it away.
Gives it away, but it still looked good. It's accurate. It's got the time. It's not the right time, but it's the right date. So
it's a London game. It sounds like
it's
he's
a
from
London
London.
game. So I actually sat up and watched the first London game this week, and the Jags didn't look incredible, but did look all right. So I reckon the fact that they're over there and have been over there for a week already plays into their hands.
Well, they treat these as home games because they do the double a bit, don't they?
They've played the most. This will be their 11th game over there, and I think the highest other than that is like 5.
Yeah.
I reckon they've sold a lot of games over there when they're struggling.
That's okay.
But they're 2-2, facing off with the Bills 3-1 in London, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So, like I said, I think it plays in their favour. Jacksonville won 23-7 over there against the Falcons. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good, 23 of 30 for 207, just controlled it, didn't do anything more than he had to. Calvin Ridley was their best receiver. He had 2 receptions for 38, but did score their touchdown. Just getting him moving again, I think, and getting him into the offense is going to be the best for them. Christian Kirk went off 8 of 12 for 84 yards. We've already spoken about the Bills and how well they did, and Stephon Diggs. So shutting down Diggs is definitely going to be going a long way for the Jags to win. Just speaking of betting stats, the line is currently at 5.5 in the Bills' favour, which I reckon is only because they have to travel. I would have thought it'd still be a little bit more. The under-over is at 48. I'd probably lean on being a pretty high-scoring game over there. This website that I found is actually pretty good. So I'm not going to mention who it is, but the last time these guys faced off, I don't know if you were watching, Charlie, it was a 9-6 victory for Jacksonville in November 2001.
That was a really horrible game. It was so bad.
Was that when Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen like 4 times?
Yeah. I don't know if they swapped jerseys at the end of the game, but they really should have.
They should have, yeah. Because Josh Allen dominated, but it wasn't your one.
Yeah, that's right.
And so the Bills are 4-3 against the spread in the last 7 matchups against the Jags, just for those who are punting. Boys, we reckon 5.5. Who wins it?
I think the Jags are losing at home in Tottenham, mate. Bills for me.
Do they cover?
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump a segment because the Bills are actually my lock of the week to take this.
Oh, wow! You've jumped.
So I am very confident with the way the Bills have performed in the past 3 weeks. Everything that Josh Allen's doing, not just because Charlie's here, it would have been my lock of the week whether you're here or not. 100%.
I don't know about that. Not sure.
Put a big old clamp on that. The Bills are taking this.
Beautiful. Charlie, go.
I'm just nervy about the Bills travelling. I think I've just seen teams have to go to London and just get thrown. Like I said, Americans have no idea what it's like to travel overseas. Have all the players got passports? Has that been checked? I'm not 100% confident. But I do think that they're pretty locked in, and also the fact that they played so badly the last time these two met, I think they'll be very keen to make amends for that. But I think it's going to be tough, and it's a bit wonky and messy because they're travelling to London.
So you're obviously going to pick the Bills, but are they going to cover?
Yeah, I think they'll cover. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I reckon that the Jags that week, the extra week, will come into it a fair bit. So I reckon the Bills probably win, but I reckon it's a tight game. So I'm going to say that the Bills don't cover. Is that what I want to say?
Jags to cover?
Jags to cover. Jags will get under the 5.5. If it stays at 5.5, I wouldn't be surprised if it pushes out a little bit more. But if it does, that's good for me. Cardi, you're last.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Danny, who have you got, mate?
So I've got the Cowboys and the 49ers. Massive game for both teams here.
Juicy matchup.
So the 49ers obviously are trying to stay undefeated, and the Cowboys are trying to push to go on 4-1. The Cowboys are still making adjustments since Diggs has gone down on the defensive end. They've had 2 weeks though, so realistically should really be improving. The 49ers absolutely dominated the Cardinals, and the Cowboys went down to them. So I don't know if you're going to put any weight in that. Both teams coming off victories in week 4. 49ers obviously over the Cardinals. Cowboys dominated the Patriots. The 49ers, though, in all 4 of their victories, have a margin of victory over 16 points per game. So they're not just beating teams, they're dominating teams. They've scored above 30 in every single game that they've played. The Cowboys' offense is definitely going to be the biggest concern. You know, Dak's ball security when he's throwing passes. He's thrown less interceptions so far this season, but doesn't mean he's not going to against this 49 defense that's absolutely elite. So I've got the 49ers to cover. Their line is 3.5.
Oh,
And it's at Levi Stadium.
Jesus.
See, that line's too small.
Way too small. The 49ers are the best team in football at the moment, so they will cover this.
They have a plus 67 point differential. So just if that's going to figure into your thoughts of if they cover or not. Maybe.
Yeah, they cover.
I think Deebo Samuel's out for the game.
Oh, fuck. Cowboys for the win.
Yeah, Debo didn't. I don't know if he went out injured during the game, but he didn't perform well when they're playing against the Cardinals. So I don't actually have it here whether he's in or out. But
I think he had bruised ribs during the game against the Cardinals, and that really affected him. And he was sore and didn't train the week leading in, and then he went out injured during the game. But I still think the Cowboys have done some impressive things, but they are very inconsistent. And I think you're right. With Diggs out of the defense, it seemed to really throw everything out of balance.
Yeah,
and like the defensive front off, I think.
Yeah, but then Micah Parsons also went down with he slightly rolled his ankle, so he's not going to be 100% either. So you're going to have your best defensive weapon not being 100% going up against this 49ers offense, which we just said were completely dominated with Christian McCaffrey and everything that Brock Purdy's doing. So yeah, okay, you're going to lose a weapon in Deebo Samuel, but I don't know. I feel like they're still going to be outnumbered with the amount of options they're going to have.
Yeah. Beautiful. So, Carts, who's winning in what line?
Oh, I'm taking the 49ers. They're a wagon until they prove otherwise.
Yeah.
We said it all last year. Until teams give us a reason not to pick him, and 49ers are in that point at the moment, absolutely going with them and to cover easily.
Charlie?
Yeah, Niners to cover very easily. I'm still not convinced by the Cowboys.
No, I'm in the same boat. They're too up and down. Danny?
Yeah, 49ers 100%. The Cowboys, in their victories, they have absolutely dominated every single one that they've played, but they also have played some relatively easy teams. And then the Cardinals should have been an easy win for them, and they went down to them. So I've got not all that much faith in the Cowboys right now.
Inconsistency, yeah.
4 from 4. All right, Karch, you've got the biggest game, and I think this is my best work here, this one.
Let's see. We got Monday Night Football. We got your boys, the Packers. The quality is just... Every time, it's the third game is always the worst. But anyway.
How's that the worst?
Well, for starters, those two idiots aren't there anymore.
Oh.
But anyway, now I've got Monday Night Football. Your boys, the Packers, traveling to Vegas to take on my Raiders. Again, maybe not the best game. Might not be the best quality game on prime time. They seem to be copying that a little bit with the Thursday, Monday night games on prime time, but that's okay. I'm nervous about this for the Raiders. You guys have looked, out of both teams being pretty inconsistent, you guys have looked a little bit better, even though even your win against the Saints, it was pretty much like you won it in the last quarter against the Saints, and then obviously went down to the powerhouse that is the Detroit Lions this week. I just haven't seen anything really like all that positive from the Raiders that's got me too excited yet. Jimmy, I think, will be back from his concussion protocol, so that's good. That's really exciting, I guess. The thing that's worrying for me, and maybe worrying for you, is the rushing game for both teams. So Vegas are ranked 32nd for rushing yards, and your boys are ranked 30th. So both teams struggling on the ground. Going okay in the air, sort of mid-table. Against the Lions, you guys gave up. Montgomery had a massive game, 121 yards, 3 tuds. So you guys gave up a fair bit. And then your production on the ground, you had 27 yards total on the ground between Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, who have been beasts in the past. Vegas, against the rush, not that good. They gave up 155 yards to Keely and Darius Davis. No offense to those guys, but not massive names. Fair to be said, but we do have Josh Jacobs on the ground, so it could be a tale of the running game. And if Josh Jacobs is able to get a hold of you guys, look out, here we come.
Yeah, Bijan took us apart too in the Atlanta game.
That's right. So a few issues there on the ground. I think you guys are 2-point favourites on the spread, which
in
I think
Vegas.
It's just reflective of how shit we're going at the moment. So that's probably fair. But I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that +2 for us, and we're going to beat your ass.
Wouldn't have thought so. No, I agree. It's one start of the season. We both probably looked at it and thought it's a must-win game if we're going to be going anywhere. So I don't think that's changed. It could be a turnaround game for either of us if we do get the W.
Sorry, I did want to mention, just looking ahead at the schedule, maybe the start of I don't want to say easier run, but the next few games we've got you boys, the Patriots, and then the Bears. So potential to turn things around. We're currently 1-3. Maybe get a little bit of a run going. And then for you guys, it's us, the Broncos, and a massive game against the Vikings, divisional rivals there for you guys. So, yeah, depending how this game goes for either side, could be a chance to get a little bit of a run going. And both teams absolutely need to get on a run if they're planning on doing anything of note this year. So, yeah, big game.
Devontae Adams is out. Like, if he doesn't actually come back, like, you've obviously got a long stretch being at Monday Night Football, so hopefully he does actually come back. But if he's not back, I'm not really loving your chances. I know you're going to be better on the ground, but I am actually leaning towards the Packers having a little bit of a bounce back after their loss to the Lions.
Oh, Danny, how could you?
That's the nicest thing you've said to me all day. Round us off, Charlie. What are we doing?
I reckon.
You had
I think Josh Jacobs really hit form last week, and I think Josh Jacobs really hit form in their latest game, and I don't think it's going to be a pretty game of football, but I do think that there's a chance the Raiders can run it home, so I think they can get there.
We're not listening
look,
2v2.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Jordan Love is doing better than I expected, but
Love has been good.
There are signs of love, but it's I still think they're a mess, and I think Detroit really showed that.
That's great. All right, we've been talking enough dribble for long enough. Let's smash through. I don't know if you've got a lock of the week, Charlie, but we finish off with our locks of the week. How'd we go last week before we say this week, Cardi?
So we all got a point last week. You had the 49ers, Danny. Big tick. I had the Cowboys bounce back, and you surprisingly took the Vikings.
And only just got the win.
Massive surprise, being the big cheesehead that you are. But yeah, you got the dub. So well done to you. Credit to you. Balls on the line there. So we're all currently sitting on 2 points. We're all on 2 points.
So Danny's already said he's going the Bills, which is a interesting one out of the box. Cardi, who have you got, mate?
I'm going to take, and it's a team we haven't probably talked about much, who are just under the radar, getting it done. I'm going to take the Ravens against the Steelers.
Yeah, nice. Steelers defense come out last week, but
a bit shaky. Kenny Pick. We don't know if he's going to play or not, do we? Right. That bone bruising. So yeah, I'm going to take them Ravens.
Yeah, don't hate it. My one is a bounce back game for the Dolphins over the dismal Giants.
Ooh,
yeah, I think that
down in Miami too. So I can't see them getting beaten there. Do you have one, Charlie?
I do. I reckon the Detroit Lions are at home against the Panthers, and they're my lock of the week. I
like it.
I really like the way they're going about it. And at Lambeau, it was like a home game for the Lions. There were that many Lions fans there. So I think them playing at home, they are like they've got a good bit of momentum, a good bit of attitude, and I don't think the Panthers can stop them.
Yeah, beautiful. Well wrapped up, boys. If anyone's still listening, then you've done bloody well. Make sure you get around our merch website. We've spoken enough.
All the
Well
good
done,
stuff.
boys. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Charlie, for coming on, actually. We better do that.
Always a pleasure, guys. Really is. And can I say, I get a lot of very positive comments on my Any Given Sunday hoodie. So
delicious.
I recommend everyone get
it's just coming into hoodie season too, which is great.
Yeah. Gonna get onto the Bills t-shirt.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes, we do have a Bills version. I don't know if it's the blue with the red.
Yeah.
Did you know we've got 32 teams?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, so you can get this shirt in 32 different colours.
Well, I'm glad I brought up merch.
Yes. Yeah. With the rest of us are
if you're still listening, it is anygivensunday.dasautomat.com. If you want to jump on board.
Nice. Great way to finish. Good luck to all our teams except for you, Carts. See you next week.
Good on you guys.